I stared at my tablet, rereading the group chat messages I was never supposed to see. Someone, probably Victor's overworked assistant, whose moral compass had always been inconvenient for them, had forwarded the screenshots to my private inbox. Victor, meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow to finalize the Harper Tech acquisition. Lorraine, should we include Ava? Victor, she's not really family, Lorraine. Exactly. She'll just complicate it again. Remember that nonsense she pitched about employee profit sharing? Lorraine, she seriously thinks this is some kind of community startup. It's embarrassing. I lowered the screen, my jaw tightening. The irony was almost too sharp to swallow, because I was reading their words from my corner office on the 41st floor of Solara Dynamics Tower in downtown Chicago, as its founder, chief architect, and majority shareholder. For nearly 6 years, I'd worked in the shadows, building one of the Midwest's fastest-growing AI-driven logistics companies. Industry leaders called me a disruptor. Investors called me indispensable. My step-family? They still called me a dreamer. They had no idea. It started in 2010 when I was 19. My mother married Gerald Langston, a polished corporate attorney with 2 children from his first marriage, Victor and Lorraine. They were sleek, confident, and already halfway through Ivy League degrees. I was the outsider. Gerald once told me I had a good temperament for administrative work. He said it like a compliment. While Victor networked at golf resorts and Lorraine toured Europe under the banner of market research, I worked night shifts at a bookstore, teaching myself machine learning and advanced supply chain modeling through online courses and open-source projects. That profit-sharing idea they mocked, that was the last time I offered a proposal to Langston Industries. They laughed me out of the boardroom once. 8 months later, I launched Solara Dynamics. Today, they're scrambling to sell their sinking company, counting on HarperTech to save them. They have no clue the acquisition's buyer is me. Not yet. The vision I'd nurtured, AI systems designed to make logistics faster, cleaner, and more equitable, became Solara's heartbeat. In our first year, we secured the North Line rail contract Langston Industries had banked on for survival. By year 4, we were their largest competitor. And now, after a series of silent acquisitions and carefully disguised investor maneuvers, I was about to do the unthinkable, acquire Langston Industries outright. Their empire was crumbling. Years of nepotism, reckless spending, and outdated strategies had gutted their market share. Contracts were falling through, suppliers were jumping ship, and their board was desperate for a savior. Then came Solara Dynamics with a lifeline. A buyout offer so clean, so generous, they could hardly believe it. The only mystery? The elusive CEO, known only as A. Mercer, insisted all communication go through corporate counsel. Victor and Lorraine never questioned it. They assumed some reclusive investor was looking for a legacy trophy. They had no idea. My tablet pinged. Reminder: Langston Industries Emergency Board Vote, 2:30 p.m. I had requested that slot weeks ago, right when I saw Victor and Lorraine block it for their confidential pitch to Solara's CEO. They thought they were about to charm a wealthy backer. In reality, they were about to meet their new boss. I slid open my desk drawer and pulled out an old photo. Me at 19, standing beside my mom on a snowy street in Evanston. She was gone less than a year later. Gerald married within months. Lorraine quietly erased my mother's name from the company's official history before the funeral flowers had even wilted. "You're on your own now," she'd said flatly. "Build your own future." So I did. And now I was buying the company she'd stolen from my mother's legacy. I tapped my earpiece. "Nadia, are we set?" "Yes, Miss Mercer," she replied smoothly. "Legal is on standby. The board just needs to sign." Victor and Lorraine still think A. Mercer is that retired Stanford AI professor. I smiled faintly. They'd fallen for the fabricated wired profile we planted last year, an aging genius with mysterious funding and a philanthropic streak. Exactly the kind of figure they idolized. "Perfect," I said. And make sure the boardroom cameras are rolling. I want every second documented. In the private restroom, I studied my reflection. The woman staring back bore no resemblance to the girl they once dismissed. Navy suit tailored to perfection, hair smooth, gaze steady. It added a pair of thin, understated glasses. I didn't need them, but they would make me just unfamiliar enough. By the time I stepped into that boardroom, they wouldn't recognize me until it was too late. Ms. Mercer, Nadia's voice came crisply through the intercom. The Langstons are here, boardroom 4B. And the camera? Live feed is running. Would you like the link? I opened the stream on my tablet. Victor and Lorraine Langston, still as smug as ever. Still dressed like they'd stepped out of a corporate lifestyle magazine spread, designer suits, diamond watches, the whole performance. Victor leaned toward Lorraine, showing her something on his phone. She rolled her eyes, then laughed, a sharp, performative sound. "Can you believe Ava applied here?" he said. "For a data analyst position. Like Langston Industries would even bother reading that." Lorraine smirked. "University of Illinois? Pathetic. I heard she's at some second-rate startup in Naperville." I didn't flinch. I wanted to hear them say it. That resume, it was mine. A deliberate plant. A trail of staged LinkedIn updates. All bait. They thought I was angling for a seat at their table. They had no idea I owned the building we were sitting in. 2:20 p.m., almost showtime. Before walking into that boardroom, I took a slow breath. Everything I had worked toward was about to converge into this single moment. "Nadia," I said into the mic, "let them know the meeting will begin a few minutes early. And when you announce me, call me Miss Mercer." I rose, smoothing the lapels of my charcoal blazer and gathering the final acquisition papers. 19 years of being overlooked, of being told I was too sensitive, too ambitious, or just Gerald's first daughter. Years of watching them waste opportunities they didn't earn. I thought of my mother. How her eyes shone when I coded my first AI route optimization program at 15. How she told me real legacy wasn't inherited. It was built, line by line, brick by brick, by those no one invited. "Ready when you are, Miss Mercer," Nadia's voice came again, calm and steady. My first hire at Solera Dynamics. One of the few who knew the whole story. I adjusted my glasses, squared my shoulders, and walked toward boardroom 4B. Each tap of my heels echoed across the marble floor like a gavel striking judgment. Through the glass, I saw Victor and Lorraine still lounging back in their chairs, certain they were about to charm another investor. Nadia opened the door. "Shall I announce you?" she asked. I nodded. "Let's begin. If you think this moment is satisfying, wait until you see their faces when the truth drops. Hit subscribe so you're in the room with me when it happens." I drew in one slow breath, steadying the current of adrenaline running beneath my composure. Years of exclusion had crystallized into control. Nadia opened the door, her voice firm and clear. "Mr. and Mrs. Langston, allow me to introduce A. Mercer, CEO of Solera Dynamics." I stepped into boardroom 4B. Victor and Lorraine turned, clearly expecting someone else. First, polite smiles, then puzzled frowns, then the dawning pallor of recognition. "Hello, Victor. Lorraine." My tone was cordial, my expression unshakable. "Shall we discuss the future of Langston Industries?" The silence was a living thing. I counted 9 seconds before Victor's mouth fell open. "Eva," Lorraine's voice cracked. "Is this some kind of joke?" I set my folders at the head of the table, the same chair their father once ruled from. "No joke," I said evenly, "though I did enjoy your earlier commentary on my resume." Victor's voice returned, but with an edge of panic. "You can't be A. Mercer. You're just a disappointment?" I lifted one brow. "No, just the person who worked while you burned through every shred of credibility you inherited." I opened the top folder with measured precision. The terms. Solera Dynamics will acquire Langston Industries for $2,400 million. Certain departments will merge, and executive leadership will be Restructured. Effective immediately. Lorraine slammed her palm against the table, bracelets clattering. You lied to everyone. You faked your identity. No, I replied, voice level. I protected my vision. I built something real, earned, and in this room, substance wins. Victor's jaw tightened. Gerald's going to hear about this. He already has, I cut in smoothly. The board voted this morning, unanimously. He just didn't know whose signature was on the offer. I let the pause stretch until the weight of it settled over them. I look forward to seeing his face, too. They were calculating, scrambling for leverage they didn't have. What do you want from us? Lorraine finally asked, voice brittle. Want? I leaned back in the chair, utterly composed. I already have it. Authority, control, the future of this company. I slid the next folder toward them. Now, let's discuss your severance options. Victor's color drained. He already knew his seat was gone. You're firing us? Victor's voice was tight. Not exactly. I slid 2 neatly prepared folders across the polished glass table. I'm offering you positions that better align with your demonstrated skill sets. Victor, you'll transition to Assistant Manager of Client Support. Lorraine, Junior Operations Coordinator. Salaries will be adjusted accordingly. Her eyes widened in outrage. You can't be serious. Perfectly serious, I said evenly. You'll also have access to the employee development and wellness programs you once ridiculed. We're not accepting that, she snapped. That's your choice. You're welcome to explore opportunities elsewhere, I replied, my tone calm but final. Just remember, your non-compete clauses are still binding, and now that Langston Industries is part of Solara Dynamics, your options will be limited. Victor leaned back, eyes narrowing. You've been planning this for years, haven't you? Not planning, building, I corrected, sliding the final folder into my bag. While you coasted, I created something sustainable. And I'm offering you something I never had. A second chance, even if it's earned the hard way. I stood, straightening my blazer. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Accept, and HR will start onboarding. Decline, and security will escort you out. I reached for the door handle, but Lorraine's voice cracked. What about Gerald? What are you going to do to him? I paused without turning. Gerald made his choices almost 2 decades ago. Now, he'll live with the outcome. A faint smile touched my lips, and something tells me he's already watching. I glanced over my shoulder. Oh, and don't bother warning him. He's in a meeting right now, one where he's about to meet A. Mercer for the first time. The second meeting was already underway in the executive suite atop Solara Tower, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline. Through the glass, I saw Gerald, immaculate in his tailored suit, signature silver cufflinks gleaming, posture perfect, expression confident, ready to charm the mysterious CEO he assumed was some discreet billionaire. Nadia stood by the door. They're ready for you, Miss Mercer. Shall I announce you? No, I said softly, a slow smile forming. I'll take this one. I pushed open the door. Gerald's composure faltered the moment our eyes met. Good afternoon, I greeted the room, though my gaze never left his. I'm A. Mercer, CEO of Solara Dynamics. Some of you may remember me as Ava. The air shifted, his pen stilled, and the real meeting began. I presented Solara's plan for Langston Industries' full modernization, ethical restructuring, equity-first leadership, and sweeping reforms to dismantle the hierarchy Gerald had spent years embedding. He sat frozen, jaw tight, eyes unblinking as I unraveled his empire with surgical precision. When the meeting ended, he tried to disappear behind the board members, his old tactic whenever control slipped from his grasp. But I stepped forward. Gerald. The sound of his name in my voice stopped him cold. He turned slowly, and for the first time in nearly 20 years, I saw it. Not arrogance, not dismissal, fear. Oh, he said quietly. So how did you build Solara Dynamics? How did you buy the company you once begged me to join? I leaned against the table, steady. The same way anything worth having is built. By working for it. While you closed doors, I built new ones. He didn't answer. This isn't revenge, Gerald, I continued. It's justice. It's proof that success isn't inherited. It's earned. With resilience, clarity, and the courage to value substance over status. He winced, just slightly, a hairline crack in the porcelain. So what now? His voice was brittle. You dismantle everything? No, I said. I rebuild it. Langston Industries will operate as a division of Solera Dynamics, focused on ethical logistics and community-centered innovation. Your name won't vanish, but it will change. He swallowed hard. As for you, I added, you'll keep a board seat as a minority shareholder. Your influence will be tempered. I smiled faintly. Call it a lesson in perspective. He turned to leave, rigid but silent. Oh, and Gerald, I called as he reached the door. Sunday dinner. I think I'll be attending after all. The weeks that followed were quiet but transformative. Victor and Lorraine accepted their reduced roles, begrudgingly at first, but over time they began to listen, to learn. About accountability. About the weight of real work. Gerald stayed quiet in meetings, though sometimes he looked at me with something unfamiliar. Not anger, not condescension. Maybe respect. The press called it a revenge story, but for me it was restoration. The victory wasn't in the acquisition itself, it was in the transformation of a company, a culture, and a legacy. For the first time in decades, the employees of Langston Industries felt heard, valued, empowered. That was the legacy I wanted: innovation, integrity, impact. 1 year later, I sat in my corner office overlooking the Chicago skyline, reviewing Solera's latest quarterly report. Langston Industries, now a Solera subsidiary, had posted a 42% profit increase, not from ruthless cuts or hollow branding, but from the employee-first logistics platforms I'd first sketched on a napkin at a cafe years ago. And to my quiet surprise, Victor was thriving. Once he learned how to listen instead of dominate, he found he had more to contribute than a last name. Lorraine, too, had grown into her role. With structure and accountability, she uncovered a discipline and analytical mind even she hadn't believed she possessed. There was a knock. Miss Mercer, Nadia said from the doorway, your step-siblings are here for their quarterly review. I nodded, my gaze lingering on the horizon. The view had changed. We all had. Send them in. Victor and Lorraine entered. No flashy watches, no smug grins. Just quiet professionalism and earned humility. Please, sit, I said, gesturing to the chairs opposite mine. Let's talk about your progress. As we moved through their development plans, my thoughts drifted briefly to my mother. She used to tell me that success wasn't about silencing others. It was about becoming someone worth listening to. I hadn't taken over Langston Industries to crush them. I did it to reveal a deeper truth. That merit, not bloodline, defines legacy. And maybe, by rebuilding what they had nearly destroyed, we'd all become something better, not out of vengeance, but purpose. In that, I found something greater than triumph. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Tell me, have you ever been underestimated by the very people who should have seen your worth? Have you been told you didn't belong, only to prove them wrong in ways they could never imagine? Share your story in the comments, because voices like ours matter. When you speak up, you remind someone else out there that they're not alone, that quiet strength, patience, and focus can change the game. I've lived it, and I can tell you, success built on your own terms will always taste sweeter than any approval handed down by those who doubted you. My advice? Don't waste your energy trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Invest it in building something undeniable. Work in silence when you must, speak only when it counts, and remember, power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it walks into the room calmly and changes everything without raising its voice. If my journey resonates with you, subscribe and be part of this community of builders, dreamers, and fighters, because the world needs more of us. people who refuse to be defined by where we started and instead create where we're going.